Hey everyone, welcome to the third part of a four-part series where we are talking about the landing zone accelerator for API management. Here's Cynthia, Pete, and Anthony back. Welcome back to the show. Glad to have you on again.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
glad to be back.
And so, just quick housekeeping. Basically, this is a third part of a four-part series. So, if you haven't seen any of the first two parts, just go back in the playlist. We have parts one and parts two where we introduce and talk a little bit about the design areas for the accelerator. Today, we're going to talk a little bit. Well, I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to listen and enjoy, but we're going to talk a little bit about the reference implementation, and what it is, some of the thought behind it, some of the design decisions made, all leading us up to part four, where we're going to have a wonderful demo. So I'm really looking forward to today and the next part. So I'm not sure who's going to take it away, but I'll let you take it away.
I think Anthony volunteered.
Go for it.
Cool. Cindy, can you share the screen real quick? I want to sort of show how to build a better mousetrap. So there's a bunch going on in this diagram, but part of what we want to talk through is how each piece has been super intentional. I'd also call out that while this is not the only way you could do this, we made a number of decisions that we're going to double click into as to why it kind of landed this way. But taking you through, there's basically three flows. This kind of blue flow right here is how a person would access an API ultimately. So through the application gateway, through API management, through a private endpoint, and finally hitting a serverless function app to actually act as the API in our example. This orange pathway is how you would interact with either this DevOps agent or this Bastion. And then the DevOps agent, having this sort of dotted blue thing, controls APIM policy updates as well as deploying your function as code. So I guess kind of first design question or decision, Pete, like why do I have an app gateway in the mix here?
Yeah, I mean, an app gateway essentially gives you a lot of additional features in front of API management. So if you ever have APIs that you want to split between internal and external, say you've got internal applications that want to be able to utilize some apps that are also within Azure, you can essentially place them with API management and not have them exposed to the public internet. It also adds the additional WAF capabilities for that API management as well. One thing to keep in mind, though, is as you're building out API management, that API management needs to be put in premium because essentially it's now set to an internal state, which means that it's not accessible to the internet. So VNets come into play. Some of the networking and NSG pieces come into play as well.
And is that VNet thing why I have this private endpoint here?
Some of it, yes, but the functions themselves, it's a good way to help secure that function so it's not publicly available. So you put that private endpoint in front of the function and then tie it to the VNet. And essentially the VNet is sort of the underlying networking that'll essentially allow you to connect without having to sort of cross out to a public space.
Awesome. So I guess oh, go ahead.
Oh, Anthony, I was going to say, I have a question for you. Why do we have both Bastion and Management Jumpbox? Wouldn't we be able to achieve the same purposes with either?
So the answer is partially yes, but not entirely no. So what the Bastion is doing here is it's actually protecting the management Jumpbox. The Bastion acts as a Azure managed service that can connect to multiple Jumpboxes or SSH sessions across different solutions. So the management Jumpbox here is really letting you access the dev side of API management because it's behind App Gateway and hidden. We are protecting the developer portal, but maybe you still want to access that through a web browser, or perhaps you want to kind of hop into the DevOps agent to mess with stuff. The Bastion just provides a unified, secure way to kind of connect to those different pieces. The other thing that I want to call out with the DevOps agent, this is an opinionated but flexible framework. So we include code to either deploy the runner using GitHub Actions, using DevOps pipelines, or you could obviously bring your own runner if you have something else, but you need a place for this runner to run, and that's what the DevOps agent is doing.
Yeah, and keep in mind to sort of add what Anthony was saying is the reason why we've got a DevOps agent there is, again, API management. Once it's set inside of that VNet, it needs to have connectivity to something within that VNet. And so being able to deploy that DevOps agent will need access to API management from within that VNet to deploy policies.
And something else that we'd also want to call out is, even though we did choose a function app as the backend for this API management instance, it is highly extensible that whether you have AKS clusters, you have app services, you require on-prem connection, these are all available as options. You'll just have to make some changes to the existing template. And the same for instance, if you have a existing DevOps agent that you've installed and configured already and you just want to use it, instead of having to deploy a net new VM and then installing either DevOps agent or GitHub Runner on top of it, that's also possible as well.
Yeah, and like Cynthia said, if you take a look at the templates, they're both broken up mostly by domain. So you get a lot of the pieces sort of together with a small amount of change. So you can change the API management as an API management set, and then add in additional private links and private endpoints with really only touching sort of that side of it without having to make sort of sweeping changes throughout the templates themselves.
That also ties into why we've cut things into subnets the way that we've cut them into subnets. That way you can control the NSG security boundaries on a subnet by subnet basis. So again, if you decided, hey, I want another private link, or hey, I want to connect something on-prem, you can really control that change radius without having to kind of refactor the entire thing from the ground up. I guess the only other thing I'll share is this is all the different stuff that gets deployed. So we talk about functions, which live inside function storage. You need the storage account to store the code. We've got your various subnets cut up, your DNS zone so that everything has a happy and pretty name. Key Vault, because who likes hard-coded secrets? App Insights, because you kind of want to know what you're doing. The couple of runners and jump boxes that we talked about. And finally, APIM. And all of this comes together to form an amazing, amazing demo, but that's going to happen next time.
Okay, I have one question before we leave off. For the networking side, this is my first time actually seeing all of the networking resources in a single resource group. What led you to that decision?
So they're actually broken out into, so all of the pieces are broken out into their own resource group. So like API management has its own resource group. The agents in themselves have like a shared resource group, but the subnets and the actual VNet integrations, those are within the networking resource group. So it's a way to sort of organize it and keep it together into one spot where you can locate it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Well, I'm looking forward to the demo just as much as everybody else. If you're not already subscribed to our channel or set up the notifications, please do that so you know when we go live and do the demo. If you're coming into the middle of this series, we definitely have parts 1 and 2 in the playlist. So go back, learn what the Accelerator is, look at some of the design areas, and then come watch the reference implementation video, have a lot more context. And then we'll be back later on this week with a hands-on demo. And am I wrong to assume that this hands-on demo is based on this reference implementation? Or not hands-on, but this demo is based on reference implementation?
Yep.
Not only that, but you can get the pictures, the code, and you can even do it yourself.
And make it hands-on.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that was brought up, because links to the GitHub repo where you can go in and get access to all of this is in the description box. So make sure you go check out the description box. So Cynthia, Pete, and Anthony, thank you so much again for jumping on and sharing with us about this landed zone accelerator for API management.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.